Welcome again, Keepers of Light, and I call you that because you are just that. Keepers of Light. So, I've had so many thoughts, and it took me forever to understand my own functioning here because this has kind of been the pattern for me where I get like a download. You could call it a download, or you could just say that there's like a million thoughts that kind of pop up all at the same time, and I can feel like they're related to the same topic, and I can feel like they're trying to formulate into a concept that that I am being put that is being put to focus for me to pay attention to. And in the past, I used to use my linear thinking, and this is kind of like how we're all trained to do, like the school systems, and just how we're taught to process information is to process it in this linear fashion where you're taking all the little parts and pieces and kind of creating a story that makes sense, and that supports that is supported by whatever that information is trying to communicate. However, what happens if the information is coming from like everywhere? It's coming from like this angle, that angle, it's coming from everywhere. I mean, this is more the cosmic perspective when the information is really more nonlinear. It does show up in very abstract ways. And so when I do the channeling sessions, it's because it's a product of me um, factoring in all the different information of frequencies, and then communicating that in the best way that I can connect to what words are of that vibratory plane. And so when you come here, like on this site, you're gonna find that I'm oftentimes engaging you in the right brain functioning, and the right brain um, kind of strengthening your right brain muscle, because this is like one of the tools that we're looking at when we're looking at expanding the experience of human consciousness, and the evolution of human beingness is really also about how well we come into understanding and how well we build our ability to process information in ways that are more nonlinear to what is um, on the lower planes of existence for the human being. The more I have people watching these videos, the more I find myself engaged, and what I'm seeing is kind of like how nervousness itself shows up within me. And it's an interesting thing because I guess I'll just do a little shadow working here with you guys. But it's an interesting thing because it's like so I'm following the thread of thinking, which is really just I'm following what's happening, which is me taking into account and factoring in what I'm perceiving might be the thought processes about what you guys are receiving from me. And in many ways, a lot of of human experiences trying to control the experiences that others are having. And so one of the messages really is about coming into like an empowered state of human beingness, is no longer functioning from the aspect of uh, and this is also kind of linked to boundaries and creating boundaries, uh, and because the human being is a very empathic being. I've probably said this before. We are always interchanging and intermixing with each other's energetics and energetic systems. It's important for us to, what we're learning how to do is to create a boundary so that we are able to identify what our own energetic systems are. And this is kind of like the first step to expansion. And in many ways, it does require spending time spending time processing information from this non-linear perspective that I offer here. I use analogies a lot, and I talk about concepts a lot. I also, what's the other word that I'm trying to get to here? Synchronicities. I will be talking about synchronicities. All of these are ways of which to portray the larger patternings of frequencies that exist as an experience to what we are experiencing on a day-to-day basis. So, because really, when you consider the nature of reality, it is simply that we are engaging in concepts, that life itself is just how it is that we're engaging within the realm of thought and thinking. And when that thought and thinking is coming from perspectives that aren't necessarily ours, because we haven't plugged into our own energetic systems, and because we haven't figured out what our who we are in that way, that way of looking into ourselves more deeply than what the stories of what we have been conditioned to believe we are. When we look at it, when we look into ourselves from the frequency perspective, we begin to engage our vision scope in that way, that we are programming ourselves to learn how to see things differently, to see the same reality that we've been existing in a different way. And in many ways, it is just the process of reperceiving and seeing things differently that then um, equates to eventually experiencing things differently, and also to creating different results from that. Okay, so why am I talking about all this? So with me touching on the little shadow working there and following my own thought streams, being aware enough to be able to recognize that when something is occurring, that it is just the occurrence of a thought system or a patterning of belief. If you are able to come from that standpoint and analyze by looking into what those patterns of thinking and all that are, you will find that we are very we have been programmed to be very outward, we've been programmed to look at things from, plug it into the energetics which are outside of us, that are more so. And it's not necessarily that they're even outside of us, because when you really like delve into it even deeper than that, you realize that it's all just projection. Like, it's all just projection. It's really belief is at the source of creation. And so if we were to follow the pattern of thinking that I would be engaging in, that the human part of me would be engaging in, that would keep me from coming out here and speaking openly as I am right now, that would keep me from, processing the words in such in a more fluid fashion than I am right now. There is some part of me that's kind of resistant to this experience. I admit that, but I'm still here because I'm also recognizing that it's not my job to what do you call it, to support that level of existence anymore. And that is the call that I'm kind of bringing forward to people, to you keepers of light on this channel, it is, my life becomes a demonstration of what it is that I'm bringing forward as a message anyway. It itself is an example of the nature of reality, because it's like there is the solidification of the belief structures that are within me, and I'm now solidifying into existence this experience of talking here and expressing myself here. And this is regardless of the fact that I am conscious of the fact that I have beliefs that are not in support of this experience. If you can take this message alone with you, then you are engaging in learning how to assume a more empowered perspective, because then you're not necessarily run by the outer conditionings that have been running the show. And it's really because the human being has been taught that there is no power for them to do such a thing as to be able to step outside of itself, to be able to be aware enough of the conditioning, to be aware of the fact that it is all just a projection. I can sit here and say that, and we can all sit here and blame one another for so many aspects of reality that is occurring within our own lives, and say that you're at fault or that person's at fault, but that is less a convenient storyline to be in anymore, because we're evolving, and also because if you were here as a keeper of light, which you are, because you wouldn't be here. And oh yeah, by the way, grab yourself a mug. All right, I just plugged in. I had to plug that in. And so yeah, if you're here, you're on an empowerment journey, self-empowerment journey. You're an energetic system. We all are energetic systems. We just haven't been taught that's what we are. Like, I mean, we're taught certain ways of perceiving reality that are more obvious, but it is the hidden and the parts of reality that are not very obvious that we're now putting a light to. We are keepers of light because we are putting to light those elements of reality which are actually very empowering, that we've been taught that are actually not empowering. But it is empowering for us to understand that what we are living in is in many ways a projection. Now, that's not to negate the fact that there is actual experience occurring, like there's actual physicality. There's That's what we're here for. We're here to have experience. But at the same time, um, looking at the nature of reality itself shouldn't be a topic that is so, what do you call it? That is so, that we so resist, uh, or that is so offensive to, I want to say offensive. I'm trying to find the word that I'm looking for. That looking into the basic nature of reality is something that we are now learning, that we are on the right track when it comes to constructing the type of changes that we're looking to construct and to create. We have been taught that the more artsy, or the more a person who is engaged in that realm of creativity, that they have less value in this reality, because they are accessing the more hidden information and expressing that through their through the embodiment of the frequencies that they are picking up on. But however, that is where we see the most beauty, and that is where we actually do gain the most value, because it actually brings us back to the nature of who we really are. And it is less engaging in terms of the linear way and the more solidified ways of perceiving reality, which kind of keeps things, is seeking to kind of keep things the same. So, okay, I'm going to go back to projection because I think that's what I was trying to get to. When it comes to projections, and I'm looking at the word there, it says projects. I'm working on these projects, like, with these sessions that I'm doing here. And the word project really, we delve into that. It's like I'm creating and putting into expression. And that's kind of how I started this whole session here. What I have come to learn is that I project through my voice, and that I, in order for me to engage within the linear process, because that is kind of like what we're here to do, is as human beings, is to engage within the linear process of existence. But it's not the linear process that shows us how to engage in a in that fashion that's actually going to be supportive of ourselves at that core energetic level of our signatures. It is more so engaging from the nonlinear, more ethereal, more ethereal based information that we gather, that information that is necessary for us to walk the path that we are seeking to walk as a soul, or as souls. So, what I found about myself is that in order for me to pull together and to exist in this realm of earth existence in that way that actually reflects my energetic system, I have to express vocally. And it's not really like I have to, because not that I have been doing this before, because so it's not that I have to, but that by expressing, I'm now bringing forth the the complexity of frequencies that are necessary for this moment in time. And you appear, and everyone actually is always appearing as a potential to being able to connect to that same level of existence. And because of that, that is what evolution has been set up for human beings, that we're all aspiring towards living from connecting to the blueprint of our soul's desire, and living out that blueprint. But in order to be able to access it in the first place, we got to come to terms with what the nature of reality really is. And but in many ways, kind of like what I was talking about when I was talking about getting over feeling nervous so that I can actually still be here and do this. One of the things is really addressing those lower level frequencies. To exist like within the higher planes, you have to now resolve those misconceptions that exist within the lower realm of existence. And they're like the lower chakra. They're the lower chakra. If you're looking at it from the energetic standpoint points, then it is like the lower chakras that we're talking about. These are the chakras that these are that parts of your energetic system that are correlate to your sense of safety here, your sense of security, your sense of purpose. And the reason being is because if you have as an underlying structure the belief that there is, like, for example, an end to life, then you're always going to feel as though you now have to be living from the perspective of securing the body and really, like this survivalism, that you're here as a human being to exist as a survivalist. But when you address these type of concepts in that way, where you're addressing it from a conceptual basis, we're not here arguing. I'm not here to argue about like what reality itself is, but that there are concepts, and that there are beliefs, and that there are patterns, and these are what then determine what our experience of whatever that reality is that we are ourselves perceiving. Because I can't say what your perception of reality is. So I guess what I'm saying here is we can't skip over those basic beliefs and kind of deconstructing those basic misconceptions of belief patternings that are really at the core of your belief of what reality really is in the first place. If you try and skip those, what happens really is that you can't move forward. Your body doesn't allow you to move forward because it is not in alignment to the level of existence that is required for you to now create the type of changes that you're seeking to create. And I'll post a link to one of my teachers. I'll call him a teacher because he's really a spiritual guide here for me, or has served as one in with some regards, like with certain topics. So I have so many people who have like helped me on my path here. So I'll post the link because he has a pretty good energetic reconfiguration of your first and second and third chakras. And he doesn't even know that I'm sending you guys there. I didn't even know that I'll be doing that. So, but I just kind of remembered that was one of the ways that I kind of, what really helped me along my path. So I'll link that in case you guys want to take a look. But the idea is that those fear patternings, they're the ones that are being brought forward and being brought forth within the entire consciousness of human beings. What's being put to question is the nature of reality itself. I mean, we're looking at these topics and things that are unfolding, but if you look at the core patterning, if you look at the core of where that is arising from, it's because the human being is finally ready to evolve from that, to evolve from experiences that involve feeling as though other people now are the determining factors to our livelihood, to our lives, to our life experiences. When there is within all of us, and we all, as keepers of light, feel that sense of resonance that we have within ourselves, that there is more to the experience of life that we are here to experience than to be without the presence of mind to create boundaries so that we can express in what ways. For me, it's vocal, but for expression is also within action. What we're doing on a moment-to-moment basis, how you're moving through life is determined upon what those beliefs are that you're having, that are at the structure of your reality. And if those are based upon, okay, I'm scared about this, I'm scared about that, like fear-based, then it really is a reflection of giving away some of the power that you can now reclaim. And because you're aware of that is what's happening, you immediately begin to gain access to those parts of you that will show you, that will reveal the non-linear information. And I'm just kind of like one of the ways in which you can receive that. But the non-linear information that is that your body is ready to receive, because you wouldn't really be able to listen to this type of, this type of like talk if your body wasn't ready for it. Your body moved you to be in this position of listening to these words. Your body is ready. So why not help it out? It is calling for reconfiguration, but not just reconfiguration, but reconfiguration from an awareness of standpoint, from the standpoint of awareness, because the the path for all keepers of light is to be at the forefront of this experience, in that way that we become ourselves demonstrations to others of what it constitutes and what it means to be existing in a more multidimensional way of existence than that which we have so far been engaged in, which is more um, singular based, a way of perceiving the self. So 26 minutes. I gotta go. I hope that this actually, you know what? It made all the sense in the world, right? It made all the sense in the world. Until next time. Hi again. So I'm on here because I went to look for the link for the chakra healing course that I talked about, that I just talked about after recording this, and after recording the session. And I just found out that Tom Jacobs, who is the person who ran the course, passed away. And so I'm in a shock about that, actually. Um, Speaking of synchronicities, I believe I was called to speak his name and to share his work because he had passed. And, you know, he's still alive. He's still, his soul is still a part of this experience of unfolding consciousness. And so he's on to his next journey. I congratulate you, Tom. But damn it, you freaking shocked me. Yeah, I'm kind of really thrown off about this. I was expecting him to have a longer journey here just because, but then this man channeled so much energy. And from from what I and I'm so fortunate to have had experiences with him. The last one that I had was I was on a call with him with another group of women. He was teaching about Lilith. He had offered, because I took his Lilith class, and he had offered for for us to join in calls afterwards because he just wanted to check in on us and see about, you know, how we're integrating the information that he had shared. And he created this space for all of us to express. He had a way of holding space for people in a way that I hope I will one day be able to emulate. He just had this way about him, and this is the human journey that he walk, that fractal of his self that showed up in my life enough times to touch me in ways that I now find myself expressing to other people. And the blessing that I feel for just having had such a powerful teacher in my life, and this is kind of like how my life goes. I'm oftentimes surrounded by people crossing over and then kind of like serving on the other side. And I think that's really what this is all about. That he's kind of like, yeah, so I'm with you here. I'm with you, and I'm watching you walk this journey, because he was like the person who would be applauding all of us, like every single one of his students. He was applauding, and I do know that there were some things that I sensed about him in terms of this emotional journey that we all having to traverse here. That it's not easy, because the weight of frequencies, that the deep, really deep emotions that you can come into contact with, especially when you're coming into contact with these type of topics, it can really have an impact on your body and an impact on your energetic system, that would and could force you to, or cause there to be an effect of you, just letting all that go. But at the same time, I just want to go back to expressing my belief that, and I want everyone to also know that everything that I say is really just interpretation. It's not truth. It's interpretation of truth. And so, this idea, and I think he and I kind of had that in common, and that's what I liked about him, because he was teaching about astrology, and he was teaching. I don't want to make this too long, but he was teaching about evolutionary astrology, which is looking at astrology from the more cosmic perspective, in the same way that I try to view and look at life as it is. Just given that that is the access point that I have always had. And so, yeah, I do believe that, you know, he did achieve his life's, his soul's purpose. And it is always the case. It is always the case, even when we are in denial, when a person has finished their journey, their physical journey, and departed from that journey to go on to more. So I just wanted to say thank you, Tom. You have no idea. I think you do how much you have really touched my life, and I'm so appreciative of that. And I'm hoping that I can continue to carry your work within me, to carry those teachings that you have instilled within me in ways that will impact so many others. And I, yeah, I'm happy for you. I'm also sad, but I am happy for you. Okay, just felt like I needed to explain, because you're going to get a link, and the link is going to send you somewhere. And in the first page that I saw, what I was about to link you to was the announcement of his passing. So I hadn't known. So, that's how life is. It really is about meeting the unexpected, and doing our best not to be in denial of those aspects of reality which really exist for the functionality of reality. All right, until next time.